at 4 o'clock on Monday, August 17th, 2026, here at the York Public Library. If we could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So as this being a off-cycle meeting of our board, there's no citizens forum this evening, though we are televised on Channel 3 and then also on YouTube. Will be downloaded at the end of today onto the town website for archiving. So folks can view it at a later date if they choose to do so. So there's two items under old business. It's the York Ambulance Funding Stabilization, follow-up to our meeting last week on same topic. And then the second old business item on our agenda tonight is York Ambulance Funding Conditions that we'll discuss. So there are two worksheets our managers put together. We have our finance director, the town manager's finance director. For our town, Wendy Anderson did a lot of work with the ambulance folks, sort of fine-tuning, adjusting some numbers, upward from our last meeting, identifying some liabilities that weren't talked about at our prior meeting that have now been identified. Last discussions with Peter on Friday, and then follow-up subsequently this morning. There were no new liabilities that were identified as of, I guess it was probably 2 o'clock or so we spoke. So I guess I'll turn it to you, Peter, with the new updated sheet that Wendy's developed, and if you want to call on Wendy,
yep.
That's fine, and we'll walk through that, and then members, I'm sure will have some questions on the data.
Yeah, the work that I think go ahead, Wendy. The work that you're going to be talking about is Wendy's work with Armin from the Ambulance Association, so I think they're probably the appropriate people to speak to it, not to me, but thank you.
Yeah, and also the cameras can see the back of the heads, but there are many of the folks in the audience. We have the York Village Fire Chief, and then they're all either ambulance board of trustees or ambulance employees are also in the audience. So Wendy?
Thank you. I've passed out a spreadsheet, which is the totals provided by the Ambulance Association on their cash flow from August 3rd, which is the numbers we reviewed at your last meetings, that first column. On Thursday, I received some changes in updated cash flow, which is that second column, changes received 8/13/26. And then the third column is the difference. The majority of the changes were things that I had suggested, but there are some outliers. For example, there's a bit more payroll than we had known at the last meeting. I think the number that I had suggested was an additional 30,000, perhaps. So there's about another 17,000 there. There is a reduction in the health insurance, but the one that stands out the most is the IRA additional $20,500, which was not something that we knew at the last cash flow. And that is, as I understand it, and maybe Armin can elaborate, but is the employer side. The number we saw before was just half. Is that true?
Yeah.
No. Okay.
The last cash flow, the first cash flow that you received, it was an estimate. I did have, and what happened is after the last meeting we had last Monday, I went ahead and I got everything updated, got everything squared away. And as I mentioned, the last meeting was that we had a very successful membership month, and I was able to get everything paid, both the employer and the employee side, up through July. So everything is paid up through July. Wendy and I did talk a little bit. I did change the schedule for several items. Wendy, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think you wanted the fuel charge, the fuel updated a little bit. I updated that, the fuel, and there was something else.
Fuel, telephone, and legal.
Fuel, telephone, and legal, which I provided in this new schedule. I did change, the wages are a little bit hard to follow a little bit, because if you can follow this, is that we pay every other week. So you might have some months that might have 3 pay periods in it, but every other month might have 2 pay periods in it. For our accounting purposes, we use a hybrid method. We're not strictly cash basis for the payroll. I am on an accrual basis so that we can have a better understanding of what the payroll is. I went ahead on this statement, and yes, I did adjust up the payroll a little bit. I think I had $61,000, $61,500, I think, for a few months, and now I did update those a little bit, just to compensate if there is a 3 pay period month, although I went through everything, and I don't think there's going to be another 3 pay period
No,
month
the
through
only
the end of the
3 pay
year.
period month was July.
Yeah, but I don't think there'll be another one, but I did increase it a little bit, yes.
So I'm a little bit confused about the IRA contributions, I guess. There is an additional $20,500 on here. I don't know if that's been paid with the other half that we knew about. So I can't speak to that. But these are the changes that you see here. If you have any questions, I can try to answer them.
It's kind of hard.
Right?
Got it? Anyone?
I don't have any questions, but I have a follow-up on another item from our last meeting, and it's regarding the SBA loan. You indicated that a letter had come in the mail that day from the SBA, but you didn't have it with you. Can you share with
We had gotten
us?
it that day that maybe, Tina, you,
Just when you get up there, just make sure the mic is green, please. Thanks. Thanks.
Thanks. So the SBA received a catch-up payment from us in excess of $7,000. It was made electronically on July 14th, 2026. They then sent a collections letter dated 7/17/2026. And so that letter was not received in our PO box until August 10th, and it was not sent certified. We were not quite sure why it took so long to get to us, but that's when it was retrieved by our administrative assistant or business manager, Crystal Gay. So at this point, based on our research, what the SBA can offer to us is we first need to contact them to let them know that the payment crossed in the mail. We were actually just discussing this at the office before coming here. We thought we had a collections issue, but what we really have is a payment crossed in the mail issue, and so it should not have gone to collections. We're going to get in touch with the SBA and let them know as part of their errors. There's a line in their instructions that says that if you think that the SBA has made an error, you can contact them. So we tried to do that, and we haven't been successful yet. They're a little hard to reach. We're going to request that they pull the account back from collections because they did receive their request to catch up payment in time. And if for some reason they will not allow us to continue our existing monthly payments of $641 and change, we will then at that point follow the bullet point on their website to request a refinance or a renegotiation. So while it is technically in collections at this moment, it should not be in collections based on their own statements and the dates. So I hope that's a little clearer for you. You look, you have a question.
Yeah, it is. You made the catch-up payments. The payments were, what, about 10 months past due? And,
yes.
So the wording of the SBA made an error. I find a little,
Well, I think I'm using there are several things you can do if you're not in compliance with the current payment schedule. So I'm remembering what their website says. I don't necessarily think they've made a grave error or that it's their fault. I'm in no way saying that. I'm simply saying that the steps we would take would first be to contact the SBA and point out the date issue, that essentially it's much like if you wrote a check in the old days and mailed it in. We made an electronic payment, and 3 days later we received someone generated a collections notice, which we then received on the 10th. So I'm not.
that collections notice, did it indicate that the loan was being accelerated or that they were taking action, or?
It was your typical collections notice stating it's all due right now, call us. It was, your typical
Oh, so it was an
don't-
acceleration, all due and payable.
It was a one-sheet notice that says this is now in collections. It was not from the SBA, it was from their collection agency.
Oh, so they've referred it
That's what
outside
I'm
of the
explaining,
SBA.
yes, and it should not be in collections because they did receive their catch-up payment, is what I'm saying. So our next step is to contact the SBA directly and share with them, remind them that they did receive an electronic payment on the July 14th, and therefore, theoretically, they would not then have generated a subsequent collections notice. But they're not easy
So
to
it's
reach.
obviously still
It's
in
still an
flux.
issue. It's
Yes,
absolutely
yes.
still an issue. We're not in any way denying that, but we're letting you know what we've learned and what we have that's pretty concrete.
I was looking back to my notes from some of our earlier meetings where we talked about the SBA loan, and I remember asking specifically if it was secured or unsecured. My notes indicate, and I remember quite clearly, that you said it was unsecured. My understanding also is that,
No, that's,
it
it is secured.
It is
It
secured.
is secured.
All right. Yeah, we did a public records search, and it is secured by all assets of the association.
Right.
And it sounds like it's now been accelerated and is been assigned to a collections firm or agency or wherever.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Mary Ann, then Robert?
I don't have any questions, but just comments here. These figures, the change in 10 days, I'm worried there's going to be more changes, and this isn't chump change. You know, the payroll expenses almost 50,000, and the IRA 20,000. I'm uncomfortable. I'm very comfortable with Wendy Anderson's reporting. I've known Wendy for many years. I'm very comfortable with that. I'm uncomfortable, though, with what the Ambulance Association is providing. It just seems like any given day, this board is given different information. And I just want to be upfront with you folks that it's a trust factor for me. I'm feeling like you're not trustworthy. You're not giving us all the information. And I want to get past that. We're in a critical point for our town for ambulance services. And right now, you folks are the ones who would administer it. But I'm very concerned about the way it's being administered.
May I respond?
Sure.
Okay. When we came here last week, it was that sheet, those sheets that were provided, a portion of it was clearly marked that was an estimate. After our initial meeting, I went back and I did some more work. And if you look at the top of that sheet, you'll see what's estimated and what's not estimated. At the time that I put that together, if I could have given you the exact numbers, I would have. I'm going to tell you right now that some of this, I don't know if it's going to happen. For example, revenue. I'm guessing, based upon the previous year's revenue, that this is going to be true for this year as well. I do know one thing. I know our billable calls were up a little bit so far this year by about 100. So I'm hoping that the revenue is going to be more, but I can't tell you what it is. I'm more comfortable with the payroll than I am with the revenue. And there's some things that are a little bit of a guesstimate. I mean, right now, we have health insurance. Well, if we hire more people, or maybe more people that need health insurance, or have people that leave and don't require health insurance, yeah, that number's going to change. But I can't sit here and say, this is exactly what's going to happen. So it's, I'm sorry you have a trust factor, but realize that these were our best estimates.
Thank you.
Robert?
Yeah, so if we could just go back to the SBA for a second. And looking at the SBA program, EIDL, I think it is, that you participated in, it shows that it goes into collection after 120 days, and you're 10 months behind, which is 300 days, and that once it goes into collection, it's the Treasury Department that collects it. So it was the notice you received from the Treasury Department?
No, I think it was from the collection agency, whoever they contracted with.
So the
But I
Treasury
think it's
Department.
it is through the Treasury Department.
And so, because you were way longer than 120 days behind, once it goes to collection, it also gets increased by 30%. So did they show that it increased by 30%?
I believe they did, yes.
So it's 180,000 you now owe.
Probably, I think it's more like 190 maybe.
Okay. And also, all the stuff I read, there are no programs. There are no programs once it goes to collection. You pay it, or they come after you. So I don't know what programs you think you're going to participate in, but what I looked at, there aren't any programs. Even if you declare bankruptcy, they'll still come after you for it.
I guess you might, know more than us. We would feel more comfortable speaking with the SBA to clarify the information on their website, because our understanding seems to be very different than yours.
All right, I wish you had too, but I wish you'd talked to them within the 120 days.
I
But-
hear you.
So, and then just to the actual, just a couple questions on that. How does your actual compare to your budget? So you must have, the board must have done a budget back in December, because your fiscal year starts January 1. What does your budget show?
No, we didn't do a budget.
So you didn't bring any numbers to the budget, to their, the board, to have them approve a budget?
No.
Have you ever had a budget?
Maybe years ago, they dealt with budgets, but we haven't been dealing with budgets.
Maybe that's part of the problem.
Well, I don't know. We could budget all kinds of numbers, but what you see
You
is.
budget, and then you compare
what-
that to actual, so
what
that
you-
tells you.
I understand what it tells you, but this is telling us a lot as well.
Yeah, but you didn't do that. That's Wendy.
I'm sorry?
So
I don't think you did it until we asked,
right.
is our impression. That you did not create a cash flow forecast until we asked at a previous meeting.
And then Wendy put it together.
No.
You asked for
This-
180, you asked for 180,000 a month ago,
That was.
right? Is that
No,
correct?
I didn't ask for it. That was incorrect.
This entity did,
Yes.
and you're the numbers guy.
I didn't ask for it, but yes, this entity asked for it. I didn't ask for it.
So you thought you didn't need it?
I didn't say that either.
What is it you thought?
You got some numbers that were supposed to be 180,000. I wasn't here at that meeting.
So what did you think the numbers were?
What you see.
So you thought you were this bad off, but you weren't going to, you didn't share
I
that
wasn't going to do
us.
what?
You didn't share anything with us.
Of course I did. I've been sharing with Wendy right along. Once she's asked for it, I've been working with her right along. Have I not, Wendy?
But that's something we instituted.
Huh?
We
asked for this,
Okay.
cash flow analysis.
And you got it. You got it once I started working with Wendy. You got it.
Palmer's point, you didn't give it to us 6 months ago, 4 months ago, 3 months ago. It came
You didn't
2.5
ask for it
weeks
6
ago.
months ago.
It's embarrassing.
So you didn't
What,
think there
did
was
you
a
ask for
problem?
it 6
No,
months
do
ago?
you have a board of trustees that haven't reviewed or approved a budget in, sounds like, years?
No, but we review financial statements every month. We have monthly meetings, and we actually review the financial statements. I could budget $100,000 in some item and not be able to.
I'm taking time away from Robert, so good.
I've never heard of an organization like this not having a budget. In the 6 years I was on this board,
Yeah.
we had a budget, and we compared actual to budget, because that tells you where you are.
Oh, okay. How about the financial? how
But
about
never mind, because you don't have a
Never mind?
budget. Well, and clearly you didn't know what the numbers were. So
Excuse me. We have monthly meetings every single month, and where financial statements are provided. Did we know that we had issues? Yes, we did. And we enumerated.
Where did you think the
Let
money
me
was gonna
finish.
come from?
Let me finish. We enumerated why we got some of those, what happened with some of those issues. And we tried to correct it. We did our best to change things around, to see if it got better, and it wasn't getting better. But all the while, we had cash in our account, and where we are using the cash to keep things going.
How much cash did you have in your
Over
account when last
600
year ended?
I don't know, but I will tell you
December
one time.
31st, how much
I will
cash do you
tell-
have?
I don't know, I don't have that with me. I
You
will,
had $100,000, I bet,
I don't
according to
know.
Wendy's numbers.
Well, you got to look at my numbers. I provided financial statements. I will tell you this, at one time, we had over $600,000 in our account.
One time you had 800,000, which is, I think,
See, that-
2022.
So that
Where
was
did it
before
all
me.
go?
We had 800,000.
Yeah.
And where did it go?
Yeah.
It went to COVID, it went to increased salaries.
I think
Do you know what our
2022
percentage
was
of our
after
salaries
COVID.
Was back in
2022 was the COVID was over.
1918, the salary percentage was 60%, 66% went to salaries. You know what it is now? It's more like 80%, between 78 and 80%. Why? Because we had to keep the ambulance, we had to keep it staffed. The only way we could keep it staffed, it was to go ahead and have people, have qualified people, and we had to pay them. If you look at any, throughout this nation, if you look at the issues that EMS providers are having, it's all in staffing. And it's not, I've said this before, it's not a Maine issue, it's not a New England issue, it is a national issue.
I get all that.
And we
I just
did-
don't know why
we-
you didn't come before us sooner. In February, the chair and I had to request to have a meeting with the board, which we had, and were told there was not a problem. You had enough income to get through the next year and a half, and you had to negotiate a new contract. And then 3 months later, you needed 180,000, and then now you need 350,000. You can see how that progression would cause us to have concern.
Yep, I understand. But also, I thought we were at a meeting one time, and we were told, come back when you're broke. Well, we're broke.
I don't think I was in that meeting.
I don't know. I wasn't at some of the meetings you were talking about.
One other, so the 62,000 increase here, Wendy, how much of that was things you had identified before?
37,000,
Okay, so it's really gone up by what, 25? Is that right?
yes.
It's the IRA piece.
I think at the end of the day, we've got to solve this problem. We've got to get it through at least June.
I think we're all in agreement to that.
Okay.
You have a comment, Mary?
No.
So I just have a question that either Armand or Wendy maybe can answer. It's in the payroll line item, the $47,000 adjustment. Is within that number, does that include any kind of liabilities, vacation, sick, buyout, any of those numbers? Are they in that payroll number?
Yeah, there was probably some vacations, probably some sick time that was paid. There was some accrued time that some staff had earned that they'll take their accrued time. Yeah, there's probably some of that in
So
there.
buyouts are in there, if staff were to leave, that buyout number's being
Yeah,
captured
that's all in
somewhere?
that, in these numbers. And I would expect I don't think it's, Crystal, I don't think there hasn't been a lot of that recently. I think the bulk of it has been paid.
Marilyn?
I also like to see that moving forward, there's no personal loans from others that are given to a corporation. People should not be loaning personal loans and getting repaid without it being documented. So that I'd like to see moving forward.
May I give you our thought process? Our thought process is we had to get the payroll. We needed money to pay payroll, and we did what we had to do to get it paid, and that's what we did.
I understand that, but that's not good business. And so I would rather see that not happen moving forward.
It hasn't happened. I don't think
just
I don't
saying.
think there's anybody else who's going to loan this.
You have
any
an
money.
excuse for everything. I'm just saying to you what I would like to see moving forward. So if that is not going to happen moving forward, that's fine. But this is not something that should be on your payroll, that you're borrowing from a private citizen to pay your payroll.
If I could speak for the rest of the board, we've discussed this at the board level, and we were all in agreement. We also feel that it's not good business practice. And I did just want to make sure it's on the record that while we may not have had a formal loan document for these personal advances, they were absolutely on the record, and they can be traced. So I want to make sure that folks know that that's the way it is.
Any other questions, comments from board members?
Are we ready to talk about the
Yes.
the
I believe
recommendation?
so, yes.
So, as I read through the request for action prepared by the town manager, the recommendation is to forward to the Budget Committee a question authorizing the use of up to $350,000 from unassigned fund balance for the provision of ambulance and emergency medical services, for the Budget Committee to go through their process and consider a warrant article. I'd just like to say that as we've all said, we need to provide ambulance service in this town, and we're going to undertake a process to determine the best way to do that, both in the short term and the long term. And I'm gratified that we have sufficient unassigned fund balance in order to support a recommendation to provide additional funding. Hooray for fund balance. So it would not be a new tax raise, but it would be the deployment of tax dollars that have been paid previously by our citizens. But I am not comfortable allocating additional funding specifically to York Ambulance at this time. It feels like we find out new information every week, and so I think we don't know what's going to materialize between now and November or beyond. So I support the recommendation with the very broad language, so that it's at the discretion of the town as to how any additional funding that might be approved by the voters be deployed. We're going to undertake a study to talk about emergency management services, both are under the current model with York Ambulance and any potential alternatives. Hopefully, we'll have that information by November. It's really a moving target. So I think we need to be prepared for any eventuality. And once again, I'm supportive of the recommendation. And I'm also very supportive of the way it's worded to allow us maximum flexibility. But I'm not supportive of recommending that the town make a commitment specifically to York Ambulance at this time. We may end up making that decision, but I just don't think we're in a place right now where that would be wise. I think we have a responsibility to the citizens. We have a lot of townspeople who just made some nice membership payments and donations, and I value those. But there's just I'll stop now. I think maybe I've articulated my position.
Anyone else? Robert?
Yeah, I agree with Marla. The challenge is it seems to me if we go with York Ambulance, we're not going to know that for a while because the SBA loan needs to work its way out. If it's in collection, stays in collections, they can come after any federal money. So if you get money from Medicare, they can grab it.
Any asset. They could.
Yeah, but they can grab Medicare money without doing anything.
Yeah.
I mean, they just take it. They don't even have to let you know. It just doesn't show up. So the challenge is we got to decide now what's going to be on the ballot, and we don't know what November is going to look like. So, and the challenge for me is if we go it alone, if we keep it in town as opposed to going with York Ambulance, we need more money. That whatever the number is for York Ambulance, we don't have enough. So I thought about, well, I'll throw it out. I thought about increasing the number to 500,000 from the fund balance, and making it general, like you suggested, Marla. And then in the statement of facts saying something to the effect, if York Ambulance agrees and meets all the conditions identified by the Select Board, then X amount of money will be allocated to York Ambulance on a monthly basis through from November through June 2027. If York Ambulance does not agree or is unable to meet the conditions, then the town will use X amount of money to buy ambulances and X amount of money to make payroll to provide the service. Because I think if we go with York Ambulance, if it all works out, SBA works out, that's where we want to wind up happening. It's really the SBA loan that's hanging out there. Then I think that number, to me, is somewhere around 300,000, where I think if the town does it, we've got to buy used ambulances, which I looked, they're out there, and make more payroll. So I think we need more money. I know that's a lot to digest at
Kind of like the concept, but
a meeting, but
Marilyn?
I also think, one more second. So I think we've got to articulate this well enough that people vote for it, and articulate it well so the Budget Committee says, well, what the heck are you guys doing? We can explain they've got to sign off on it too. We've got to be able to explain it to them how we're using the money. So, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay, because I'm a little bit off right now. I'm not exactly, there's too many things coming at me. So you're saying that 300,000 towards the ambulance for this year or for moving forward?
So I think it's just to get through, as they said, to get through June 30. I would even bifurcate it a little bit and make it like 250,000 for monthly, made into monthly increments, and then that 50,000 that is the contingency fund that Wendy came up with, I would hold that out, and if they need it, they could come to us and we would have to approve it before it got dispersed.
Okay.
So I'd even tweak it a little bit more, but.
Didn't you say 500 as a global number to
So
start?
I would, up to 500,000. If we go to York Ambulance, it would be 300. And if that doesn't work, then we need more money so that we can buy ambulances, basically.
So you have a ceiling with 300 to York Ambulance Association. If that doesn't pan out correctly,
Yeah,
then there's the 200, or the balance could be used to stand up the town ambulance system.
Yeah.
Is what you're.
and it's,
Yeah, I think that any advances to York Ambulance should be totally at the town's discretion. We can attach
make that
some.
as a condition. Yeah, yeah,
We can attach some conditions, but we don't know what we don't know, and I think I don't want to commit to monthly payments. Even with conditions, I think there should be language that advances are at our sole discretion, and we will make those advances based on evaluating various factors.
But I think if we get to like December or something, and it's not working, we've got to have a plan B, and we've got to have the money for plan B. As we know, we can all of a sudden find out things we didn't know.
Marilyn?
I agree, but I am a little bit torn between this because I think we haven't done our own due diligence in figuring out exactly how much it will cost the town to have an ambulance go in. We know what it would cost to take over and do this part, but if it doesn't work, how much are we going to ask the townspeople to vote on to move forward to get an ambulance system in town? So I think we need to know those numbers
Yeah.
before we can just say, oh, this is what I think should happen. 300 sounds like a good number, but, things usually wind up being much more than you think it is, and I think we need those numbers.
So the manager has been working on some numbers.
Well, I mean, the cost would be marginally more expensive, but would contain all of the same things that
Okay.
York Ambulance's budget does. With a few marginal things that they have to pay for that we wouldn't have to pay for.
But just about the same.
I mean, if the pay rate is higher, it's marginal. It would be, if you're talking about the same number of hours, it would be the same number of people, same number of hours. doesn't cost them any more or less to buy an ambulance than it costs us. We're competing for the same vehicles. The pay rate, like I said, is marginally higher. The benefits are marginally higher. The marginal cost would be higher. I mean, I guess that's,
Okay.
so,
You don't have
so we're pretty
ambulances
much-
today, though. So
Correct.
you'd have to
Right.
buy ambulances.
absolutely,
So that's more than what they have to do.
right.
Can one lease an ambulance?
Yep. You can, but a lease is treated like long-term debt under state law for municipalities, so you need authorization to do that. You need a vote.
So we're going to do this study, and that's going to inform us a lot in terms of making decisions for going forward, and you hope to have that done to include in your fiscal '28 budget planning.
Yep.
And who knows? We've got 2 fire departments, we've got an ambulance association. This discussion might get even bigger and broader as we go through the next several months. So I think we should keep that in mind. So, the question is, what's the number that we forward to the Budget Committee, and what's sort of the language around that? I like keeping it simple, but certainly people want to know more. We don't know a lot right now. I think that's the big challenge, and between now and what will hopefully be a vote in November, hopefully we'll know more, but we're not going to know everything.
You go, Mary Ann, then I'll go.
You know, I do like Robert's suggestion. We don't want to go back to the voters twice, which we certainly can. You can have a special budget meeting in February if you wanted, but where we're talking about it now, for $150,000 in the big picture, and if you word it up to, it doesn't mean we need to use and spend it. And if that 500,000 fits within the threshold for our fund balance policy, I think that's a wise idea.
So if I could call on Wendy to just come up, there's a lot of folks that are either watching live or going to be watching, and talk about fund balance, just so that so the public understands it. Sort of how it works. There's a policy that this board's adopted and allows us to sort of move within those rails. And then the number you came up with through an unofficial audit, but doing the good work that you do, what you see is fund balance available to this board for this purpose or others, but we're talking about ambulance service in town that we've all agreed we need to have. So if you just lay that out.
Sure, so we start with the June 30, 2025 draft audit fund balance. That's, where, what funds that have accumulated in there over the years. Our policy requires us to maintain within 14 and 17% of our operating expenses. We don't know the FY28 operating expenses at this point, so we have used FY27. So we're beginning fund balance at the most recent audit at $12,296,000. My estimate after reviewing the FY26 numbers from just this past June is that we'll add another $1.7 million to that, ending at $14 million roughly. We have other commitments that are have already been made to fund balance, but not spent yet. And those were the things that voters voted on to purchase with fund balance. There's IT, there's an amount for IT of $129,500, the Route 1 corridor study for $80,000, community center committee funds for $50,000, and there's a number of things that all the voters approved, and those outstanding items are 1.79, which is a little bit more than what would be added from 26. And then we have additional, the cliff walk repairs were just voted on of $180,000 to be spent with fund balance. And we have an amount of $550,000 available to reduce taxes if we need it. So all of those things considered, that brings our fund balance down to $11,510,000 roughly, which is 14.2% of our operating expenses that are known right now. The calculation gets us to a $1,006,000 available for use to stay within that lower limit of fund balance at 14%. So the $500,000 is there without completely tapping things out and needing to make an emergency plan to replenish that.
Thank you. Any questions for Wendy from the board? Thank you, Wendy. Robert?
Just so people, if they're listening, yeah, there was someone, I don't remember who said in a meeting, I think, they thought we were saying fund balance, F-U-N. So just so we're clear. So it's our savings.
Yes.
It's money we've taken in that's unencumbered after we've paid all the bills. And then the other thing was, as a percent, that 14% is of not just the town side, but it's the school side as well. It's both budgets. I mean, it's our total town budget, school and
county.
town.
And county.
Pardon?
And county, it's all of the local taxation
It's all
authorities.
that, taking 14% of that. So it sort of protects the whole
Yes.
entity. Just so people,
Where's here? That's true.
yeah.
Yep.
And it can't be spent without voter approval. Hence
The reason we're here.
this discussion.
And if we appropriated 500,000, didn't spend it, it would go back in the fund balance.
True.
So we can take it out and not spend it, it goes back. Fund, F-U-N-D.
Correct.
There was also discussion, I think, at the Budget Committee about the idea of potentially using some contingency for this exercise. I don't know about others, but I would prefer that we hold our contingency funds for, we're just at the beginning of the fiscal year. It's going to be an El Nino. Things might come up, and I would prefer to hold those.
Peter?
I would just like to pile on to that comment. This is not a one-time expense either, so I think it is, we've heard, my prediction is that you would pay at least as much as what you're hearing from York Ambulance it'll cost them to provide service in the next fiscal year to do it municipally, and you're gonna pay something to any other organization that might come in that's not York Ambulance for a private contract. So, I mean, above and beyond the current contract rate. So I don't think there's any doubt that we will be paying more in one form or another for ambulance service in the next budget year, FY '28, that we haven't started budgeting for yet. So if it was a one-time expense, then, okay, fine, contingency, fund, it all comes out of fund balance. But this is gonna be a structural addition to the budget next year. So it makes sense to start accounting for it and thinking about it, and having the voters weigh in on it now, because they're gonna be weighing in on a similar expense, regardless of what the long-term plan is or what the long-term solution is. There is a large increase to our ambulance service likely coming in the next budget year, just out of every option that we've looked at, so.
If we had a broadly worded warrant article, the way you've written it, is it your interpretation that we could utilize those funds, those voter-approved funds, for capital purchases related to ambulance provisioning?
I mean, it's for equipment to provide ambulance, the provision of ambulance and EMS services. It's not the process that we would typically use, but I don't know if there's anything legally that would prevent that, Wendy?
I can't answer that off the top of my head. I'd
Other
have to
than
do
we're not
some
following our
research.
own planning process, but I think that this is an atypical situation where we don't have the opportunity to do that. So we can look at that maybe for next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we do, I mean, clearly articulating in the statement of fact what the options are and what we're hoping to do. I mean, so the voter is aware that we might be doing that, I think would be, as long as it's legal, would be helpful to.
So are we ready for some form of a motion, or do we want to continue to discuss our options?
I think probably the bottom line is whether we want to use the figure of 350,000 or 500,000.
Is that a motion?
No.
Robert?
So, so we have another meeting before the budget committee meets. We need to move something to the budget committee, right? Because that's that 10-day window.
Correct.
So we need to make some sort of motion, but we could also.
We modify it next Monday? Is that what you're thinking?
Well, we could maybe have the statement of fact, and maybe you could have more numbers then to tell us what you think it would be if we had to move it to the town.
I
We
can
won't
tell,
hope- we
yeah,
won't- we
I
won't
can
hope.
tell you right now, I'm just not going to do it because it won't be right if I do it. So I'd like to refine that. But just to throw it out there, it's in the range of numbers that you've heard discussed from York Ambulance
I
Association.
think, so you don't think it's more? I'm just saying, I think it's more, but you don't think it's more. You think for
Define-
300,000.
define more,
You
yeah.
get,
Sorry.
I have 500,000. That's what I think.
No, sorry. I'm saying the numbers that we heard are likely on the table for a future fiscal year.
I'm not, we're not talking about the, we're talking about now.
I'm saying
this
I think-
coming fiscal
yeah.
year.
That is a
Fiscal
good,
year
Yeah, that we're
27?
in. Yeah,
that we're in?
that is in the ballpark of what I'm looking at, yes.
350 or 500.
Are you talking about for 12 months? Or are you talking about for 7 months or 9 months or 6
Well,
months?
it's going to be voted on in November.
So
from
get us through June
November-
30th.
I would prefer to give you a very detailed answer on Monday when, if you can tell me the expectation and the timeframes, like right now, discuss it and let me know. I can 6 months, 7 months?
Yeah, it's the same as we're talking about November to June 30, and you got to have ambulances.
8 months.
Yeah, I can give you a burn rate for everything except for, a monthly burn rate for everything except for capital purchase.
Yeah. But I went out and looked, there are ambulances to be had.
And truly, this study is going to give these answers that we're asking you to look into a crystal ball for. And it's fair not to,
And that will be till November, though, right? The study.
When we already have a commitment to York Ambulance.
Right. The preferred course of action from staff is still, understanding everything that's being set up here, we need fallback plans in case something unexpected happens against the wishes of the ambulance association. They're put out of business or unable to continue because of an unknown expense, like a collections issue or something like that. We need to have that. The preference would be, at least for the fiscal year, to not do that on 1 month or 2 month notice. I think for everyone involved, all of our employees, fire departments, board, me, ambulance association. So I don't want to be pushing that and being like, yeah, we could do it for this amount of money. We don't want to in any circumstance, but if we have to, we can give you that number.
Yeah, I mean, this is just an opportunity to look at what is the number for Plan B. It's not Plan A, but
I mean,
if we
in
don't plan for it
ballparks.
now and we need Plan B, we won't have the money.
Well, I like the Plan B that you proposed.
You like the 500?
Yeah, with the language that was talked about, that we can refine, sorry, we can tell micro, we can refine it at our next meeting, but it gives us options or contingencies if something was to happen to the current situation of EMS service delivery in our community.
and regarding that, will we be renegotiating the contract with York Ambulance Association, and when? Because right now, they've signed a contract, correct me if I'm wrong, to provide services through June 30th of 2027.
Right.
And they can't meet their terms that they signed to. So when would we sit down with them to renegotiate that?
Your deadline, our deadline, York Ambulance Association's deadline for both organizations will be the budget season this year, because we will need to submit a number for next fiscal year at the start of the budget season. So say a absolute drop dead deadline, having a negotiated dollar, maybe not the terms and conditions of a contract, but a dollar amount that both sides agree on if we move forward under a new contract would be January 1.
Okay, so,
Budget process would probably start the week after that week, 1st of January. Now, we'll be distributing budgets at the end of December, and you'll be discussing budgets at the end of November, beginning of December, so work backwards from that. But a date that I can go to the budget committee and say, this is our, is the initial presentation of the budget.
well, to get back to Marla's point of we'll be discussing some different terms or words of understanding, will those have legal binding clout if we don't renegotiate the contract in November or before November for this fiscal year? We can say we want this, but must it be delivered?
Well, it seems to me if we do elect to provide York Ambulance with additional funding, it'll come with conditions, and those conditions will be incorporated into a modification to the existing agreement.
That's the most likely way to do it. There are probably other ways
Is
that
that-
could be
I think we're talking about the same thing, so to
Yeah.
me, that's renegotiating a contract or
And
it's
with-
modifying what we've got.
Yeah,
Okay.
and with strict oversight on an ongoing basis.
Board?
Do we have the language for that?
So would the board be, if I just change this 350 to 500,000, and then we look at a number that the town manager brings to us and the statement of fact next Monday? Is that to everybody's liking?
I don't want us to put too much pressure on the town manager to make a commitment above and beyond, say, the 500 before we have the information that the study's going to give us, for example. So I think what you read initially, I'm comfortable with, but I'm not so comfortable with continuing to press the town manager for a more refined number right now.
I'm okay with that as long as he's okay with that.
I am. I mean, everything has a giant disclaimer on it, as you heard from York Ambulance, as you heard from Wendy, as you heard from
Then
me.
you could
These
say
are
it was
estimates.
Robert's idea, it wasn't mine.
It was Robert's idea to force me to commit to a number. The big,
And the budget committee is going to go through their discussions and their public.
so the
I mean,
300,
they're kind of the specialists.
so the $350,000 number that's in front of you that's requested would be very tight, but I'd be comfortable for that for just on some preliminary numbers I'm running here, for a 7-month provision of an ambulance service
You're
combined
gonna
with.
buy 2 ambulances for that.
That is, you didn't let me finish my sentence. That does not include the capital component and amortizing that and what we need to set aside. So with no consideration for capital, that's the only number I don't have. And so to answer your question, Robert, is 500 or 350 or 900 or 200 the right number? We would need to really quantify what we're looking for in terms of a capital purchase. If we come up with that, any of us, myself, any board members that have suggestions, I can plug that into a spreadsheet and give you a very good answer. But 350, I think, would cover operations and payroll, the same as it probably would for York Ambulance. We also have monthly contributions that are in our budget currently, that are in Article 6, which is the fire department article, so.
So do you think the way this is worded would allow us to buy ambulances? So it says, fund balance for the provision of ambulance and emergency medical services. Do you think that you think so?
That sounds like it.
I think it's worded that would let you buy equipment. I just don't know if I'm going to be super cautious. Wendy and I just need to check to see if there's any, process or procedure that we're missing on just right now tonight. Does that sound right to you, Wendy? Yeah.
regarding that, would the purchase be bonded or just straight out purchase?
We couldn't bond it without a vote, so it would have to be a straight-out
Okay.
purchase.
That's what I was thinking.
Or lease.
Well, lease would be debt, so it's treated like a bond for, yeah. Rental is not, but lease that you have some ownership stake in. So to get to your question, if you want to account for all possibilities, a number over 350 is probably correct.
Okay.
I don't know how much over 350. I can't give you that answer
Well, see,
right now.
See, I think that 350, I wouldn't, if it were just going to do York, I wouldn't agree to 350, because I would pull out the money they've got into the 50+ thousand they're going to buy an ambulance with. I mean, they're not going to be able to lease an ambulance because nobody's going to finance it for us.
So
So I would pull that 50 grand out and get you to 300.
Yep, so you can, well, I'm telling you that 350 would be okay by my preliminary calculations for everything excluding capital.
Okay, but, and the capital we could do separate.
Would have to be the additional money.
Right.
Could do it, though.
Has to come from somewhere. Has to come from a budget item, contingency, or from a purge. So a $500,000 number is in the ballpark, yes.
Mr.
If
Chairman,
you're including purchase of ambulance or ambulances of lower quality in that, yes.
oh, yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move the Select Board refer the following item to the Budget Committee for consideration by special budget referendum. Shall the town authorize the use of up to $500,000 from unassigned fund balance for the provision of ambulance and emergency medical services? Furthermore, I move that the Select Board determine that it would result in a significant loss to the town as outlined in Article 2, Section 20A4A of the York Home Rule Charter if this item were not acted upon before the next annual budget referendum.
Second.
Motion by Robert, second by Marilyn. Do we have additional discussion on the motion?
Quick question.
Marilyn?
Since are we going to vote on something different for the capital for the two, for possible ambulance purchase, or this will include all of that? Okay.
It'd be a different vote.
Okay. Yes, one saying, you're saying yes, you're saying no.
Yeah, I agree with Peter.
Oh, okay, got it.
Anyone else? Call the vote, Robert? Yep, you have something?
I'm still confused. I thought the 500 included the provision for
Ambulances.
capital purchases,
Yeah, I thought so
if
too.
necessary to provision.
So then,
So there would not be a second or a separate.
oh, that's kind of what I was asking.
Okay,
I
yeah.
just want to make sure, and he said yes.
The intent is this would be an all-in-one
Okay,
article.
yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to
There could be a
know.
separate one, but this is going to do that.
No, I just wanted to make sure, yeah.
You could structure it that way, but that would not be necessary if you put
This is good.
500,000.
I just wanted to clarify.
So we have the motion by Robert, second by
gonna be a
Marilyn.
follow-on.
We've had some discussion. Any additional discussion? Call the vote, Robert?
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yes,
Marla?
Yes.
Mary Ann?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion carries 5-0. Old business 2 is York Ambulance funding conditions.
Is the intent of this to give particularly the Budget Committee some guidance on our thoughts about how we would exercise our discretion in making advances, should we elect to do so?
In the public.
Yes.
The Budget
of-
Committee and
yes.
and
One step at a
residents.
time, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Of course.
Both, I think all, voters prior to a vote on this article that you just approved,
Well, we
or at
also
least
stated some of
requested.
that earlier too with the prior vote, different conditions that may get built in and discussed at our next board meeting, possibly.
Yep, so just to kind of outline, I don't see this as necessary to be taken action on yet, but I think both you, the town, and York Ambulance would want to have these terms, conditions, amounts agreed to prior to going to vote, so we could point at it to the voters and say, this is what you're going to get, and this is what they're going to get. Continuation of service along these terms, if there are any different terms than before. And due to what we've been shown, the cost of providing ambulance service, we agree to pay additional amount in this amount per month, or whatever the term would be. Pointed it to the voters, and the voters can make a decision of whether that's satisfactory or not. it would be in a bind, I would think it would be in a binding, some type of MOU or more likely an agreement, an actual, contractual type of an agreement, so.
Robert?
So do you envision then that both parties would sign it? So that we would ask the ambulance board to sign up, that they understood the conditions and would meet them, and we agree?
I would think so. I mean, the original, by at least the counter signatories that are in the original document, which I think is your board and their board.
Yeah, I agree.
I think this is a good start. And maybe, do we have another week to noodle on it, and after the budget committee starts their process?
Yeah, I don't think you need to have this even
Yeah, this is just a
finalized
discussion
for the
item.
budget committee,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
think it would give, because the budget committee asked some of these questions when we were in front of the budget committee almost like a month ago now. Like, hey, what would we do, about this, about this, about this? So I think this gives them an idea of what you're thinking of. They may have additional, so their job is to vote on the dollars, but they may have, as part of
Additional
that,
to add to
some
this.
discussions and recommendations back to the select board. I think it would be your job to execute what they're asking for and negotiate with the ambulance, or all of us really, to negotiate on behalf of the budget committee request, but they might have a different idea or two that they'd want to ask, so.
Well, many of those that are listed here, I mean, I can just speak for myself, but, I've had folks in town
Yeah.
that have been following this issue, asking these sorts of questions. What are the controls or safeguards can you as a board, or us as a government, put in place to make sure that the money is spent appropriately? And this is really what we're talking about.
And I know we beat up on the SBA EIDL issue earlier, but that's an example of a condition that for both parties benefit, right? Like that needs to be resolved, and there needs to be a pathway so that gets back into a status where money's not just going to be swept from the ambulance association's account or recovered by the treasury that the town would otherwise need to provide ambulance service if York Ambulance Association isn't around. So this is protecting taxpayer money, hopefully helping them to get issues resolved so they can continue, move forward financially and prosper with our additional funding.
Not rely on shareholder advances, or board member advances, and file their 990 on time. That's just,
We have this list in front of us, but I don't think that the public, Peter didn't read the suggestions. Do we want to talk about the
Would
suggestions
you like
right
Peter?
now?
Peter can certainly read them. until they're-
I'm thinking that might be helpful, and even the paragraph beforehand, if we want to just, so the folks know what you're doing.
So what the manager's going to read, this is on our town website, Select Board Meeting Materials. You can click on that, follow along at home, or
Yep.
whenever you're watching.
So I'll start
Peter's
kind of
gonna
with
read it into
I'll
record.
start at this, kind of halfway through the summary. So it's recommended that the select board compile a list of desired conditions to be attached to the provision of additional funding over the next several select board meetings in advance of a potential special budget referendum. Staff would then use this list to draft an agreement modifying the terms of the existing contract with YAA for the remainder of FY '27, including provision of additional funding. Voters would then be able to rely on this amended agreement between the town and YAA to clearly understand terms under which the additional requested funding would be provided. Some suggestions, these are not all mine, they've come from board members, from Wendy, from the public, from the budget committee. So monthly financial reporting and statements provided prior to the 15th of the following month. I think I can explain kind of these a little bit. That's so in case there's any developments, unanticipated developments, we would see that, we would be able to help, we would be able to make changes if necessary. Creation of some number of seats on the YAA board specifically held by designated town officials. I don't have a hard suggestion on that. I think the president of the YAA board talked about it last time when he was here about that had been discussed previously about ex officio. I think that would be fine. I think just some participation into the operation would help. And I would suggest that we kind of designate different, maybe an elected official, maybe a staff person, whether that's a chief or the manager or the finance director, whether that's a select board member, a budget committee member. Our treasurer stopped in to say she would be very interested in serving in any capacity that we need her, Nan.
The town
so-
treasurer.
Yep, so she's an elected official, she might be in that category as well. Okay, so an approved pathway to, we've discussed this ad nauseum, so the Small Business Administration EIDL loan from default, so that it's back in a regular status, which I think is everyone's goal. This one, I think, is already underway, the settlement of the 401K. Done, okay, so it's 401K payment liabilities, so they've already started on that, that's great.
But ongoing adherence too.
Correct, yep, as a condition, which they've said they're going to do, so. In review of terms of the current agreement, identify if any required changes. I haven't done that, but I think you'd want to look through and see if anything needs to change. The other one, notification of any issuance of debt or encumbrance of assets. I think Wendy talked about that with myself and with the ambulance board as well, or at least members, so.
May I make one suggestion?
Sure.
The 15th, having financial statement by the 15th is going to be tough. Remember, I said that the payroll, we use that on an accrual basis. I might not have the information till the 15th, so if we can go to the end of the month, by the 30th of the month or the following month, that would work out, because I might not have the information to be able to do it by the 15th.
Noted.
You don't, yeah, I take it you don't believe me. Okay, so July.
I understand your request for additional time. I think,
I'm not stalling, I'm just telling you, I won't have the information to give you a complete and accurate financial statement. So that's all I'm asking for is a little bit more time.
We understand, but I think if we're going to move forward, it would be before the end of the month, not moving over into
I
the
can't hear
next
her.
month. So I would say that it would be by the month's end. not
Correct, instead of the
into
15th,
next
by the month end.
so, for example, the end of the activity for September.
Right.
We've asked to receive the bank statements and the financial statement for September by October 15. He's asking to submit it by October 31.
That's too far. We should have it before then.
Okay, then
a lot of
you could end up with an inaccurate statement. That's all I'm telling you, because I use the payroll on an accrual basis. For example, I think this month, I didn't get the information to do the accrual till July 12th. It would be very difficult to have it by the 15th. I'm just being very upfront. I'm not hiding anything.
prior
I'm
month.
not stalling
For-
anything.
For the payroll that was paid the prior month.
Yes, because there might be, for instance, this in
I know Wendy,
July.
it sounds like Wendy has some thoughts on this.
I'm sorry?
It sounds like Wendy has some thoughts on this.
I just wonder if you have to accrue it. Can you just accrue it at year end? Can you just go? move
I
to a
I
cash
can do whatever
basis?
you want,
'Cause
but
we're just talking about a
if
couple
you
of days.
want, and then you will have statements strictly on a cash basis and not on an approved accounting basis. So I don't care. If you want to do it on a cash basis, frankly, it's easier for me.
Is there anything that I can do to help speed that accrual up?
You want to tell paychecks they got to get me? I'm not trying to be funny, but I'm going to give you an example. The payroll that we just received on, I think, August 12th, included a little July, included 5 days of July in that payroll. All right, so
What was the pay date for that?
I don't know, there was 5 days of July, and then there would have been 9 days in August. But I didn't get it till August 12th. I'm just saying the 15th is a little bit tough.
We'll work it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not, sorry, I don't want to make it sound like I'm dead set on that date. I think Wendy suggested picking a date specific, if there's a different date that the board is comfortable with, that Armin's comfortable with, that we can all agree on. I think that's fine. It's not that
I think probably cash basis is,
2 days or 5 days is going to make a difference.
Right.
It's just-
If you want to do it a cash basis, it works for me. It makes it easier for me.
If I could just reiterate that the board is committed to giving you monthly statements. I'm not as familiar with all the ins and outs of when Paychex gives us information, but just to speak clearly for the board, we are committed to giving you monthly statements. I see some expressions on the select board that make me concerned that you're not hearing that from us, so I wanted to state it very clearly.
That's good. Thank you.
So any more thoughts on the item Peter read? There's no action needed tonight, but
Yeah.
more conditions we've discussed or heard from voters.
I will communicate these, so I'm assuming that, I should mention, I think the Budget Committee I have to confirm this with Heather after your vote tonight. Heather Campbell, the Budget Committee Chair. Heather's preference was to hold the public hearing next Tuesday on their regularly scheduled meeting, which is allowed. It's within the 10-day period. It's 8 days, not 10 days. There's nothing, we looked at the charter language, Mary Ann and I did as we were going back and forth, it says, shall hold the meeting within 10 days of the date. So I think they're allowed to do that. That's her preference. I think that's what's gonna happen, but I just need to confirm that with her, and we'll post it tomorrow when she confirms that. So Tuesday night, next Tuesday night, you're gonna meet Monday. Next Tuesday night, probably be good, so you folks know that that's going on. That'll be the public hearing at the Budget Committee about whether or not to put this question forward to the voters. So Tuesday, the 25th, as opposed to your meeting on Monday, the 24th. I will certainly attend that meeting as staff support for the Budget Committee. I'm assuming Wendy might get roped into it too. Sorry, Wendy. But that's kind of our gig, is going to the Budget Committee meetings when these questions come up, but probably board, I don't think the Select Board needs to be represented there, but formally, but I think probably leadership or some combination of
I
board
did reach out
members.
to Heather
Okay, good.
today.
Yep.
So just to remind her that we were meeting tonight at 4,
Yep.
different meeting, different time of day. She asked if she needed to be here. I said, you come if you want, but she's probably watching.
Yep.
Or will be watching. And I did also offer that Marla and I could meet with her and any of her board members, with the manager and appropriate town staff at some future point, if they'd like to gather before their yet-to-be-determined meeting when I last spoke to her. So that offer's out there. Communication lines are open between our board and the Budget Committee.
Good.
Thank you.
And we'll have the opportunity next Monday to talk about this some more, if we want to
Yeah.
add or subtract or modify, propose.
So, sorry, go ahead.
Mary Ann?
Would it be helpful to ask the town attorney if he or she had any ideas of what we should put in for conditions? You know, this is beyond my expertise, that I don't know what I don't know.
Yep. I could have
I'm
that.
just thinking, or even the budget
Grace
committee.
is yes, and the manager heard you. Be on it.
So, can I add one timing item for this isn't really on any of the forms, but we will need to discuss, we should discuss before we leave here, which might be soon, or in the next 15 minutes, maybe, hopefully, when you want to hold a meeting to vote on the warrant. So, because you will now have to have another meeting after the Budget Committee meeting. So normally we would do that on the 24th, but the warrant won't be complete until the Budget Committee vote next Tuesday. So following week, I think there might have been some availability issues on the 31st with certain board members. So potentially Tuesday the 1st, Wednesday the 2nd, Friday the 4th is your
And that will be-
statutory
The
deadline to
action of the
send.
board at that point will be to move a number with some conditions to the ballot.
Right. And I believe, to hold a public hearing, if not on the entire warrant, at least on the part the Budget Committee voted on. So
So do we need 2 meetings or just one?
you will need 2 meetings. So we have a regularly scheduled meeting on the 24th,
Right.
but you are going to need to meet after the Budget Committee takes action on that at some regularly scheduled time, because we'll have to notice the meeting as a hearing on that item.
Prefer it be televised.
Yeah, we would do it here.
Availability.
Yeah.
Or is it possible that the Budget Committee might not complete their work next Tuesday, and they might want to reconvene, just like we have?
I don't think that's, let me check on the charter.
Done
I
a
think it says
special
they
meeting?
shall vote immediately after.
Okay,
Or it's not, I'll look it up right now. It might not be immediately, it might be after the conclusion of the hearing or some language like that.
And I guess it is a possibility that instead of adjourning, they could continue to a time certain, and that still is the same meeting.
Correct.
Good,
good point, like they do during
good
budget
technicality
season.
there, yep.
And what is our drop dead date for, not the warrant itself, but the statement of fact? Is it the same?
Preference
Or-
votes and, statement of fact, no, because that's voter guide material, but
And I'm thinking that
preference
the
votes.
conditions would probably be more in the statement of fact as opposed to in the actual warrant article. So that gives us a little bit more time to refine those.
Yeah.
So preference votes will have to be taken, like the warrant, by September the 4th, Friday, September 4th, so that's the Friday before Labor Day weekend
Mm-hmm.
at the latest, because your preference votes on this would go on the ballot because it's a budgetary question, as well as with the budget committees. So they could, yeah,
But the statement of fact, the voter guide,
not bound. So 30 days prior to the election, we'd want probably 45 days prior to the election if you want to get that in people's mailbox by
so for
election
example,
day.
we have a meeting on
First-
September the
First meeting in September
14th.
would
We
work.
could,
Yep. That would still let us get, that would still let the voter guide get to the residents roughly 30 days prior to the election. It gives you 3-week lead time on that 30-day lead time. So the charter language, sorry. I know that's where I
I
was
would
going.
almost suggest, excuse me, for our next meeting or the next meeting after our regular meeting, is to have it in the earlier than later, just because we don't know what might pop up, instead of scheduling it for the 4th of September, if the room's available and everybody else is available, just sooner than later.
I would agree. That makes me very nervous to have a meeting on the last date.
so
Okay,
like the second, something like that.
Whatever.
either Wednesday or Tuesday or Wednesday, right? So Monday is off the table on the 31st, I think, for most.
I won't be here.
Yeah,
You will be here?
I will not.
Okay.
I will not.
Well, there you go.
I won't be here all week, but I can participate remotely.
At the conclusion of the public hearing, the Budget Committee shall vote to either approve the subject matter of the special budget referendum as submitted by the Select Board, to approve the subject matter with amendments, except then there's disclaimer for school construction projects that has nothing to do with this, or to disapprove the subject matter of the special budget referendum. So they have 3 options. So approve with amendments, that's the dollar amount. So they can approve the dollar amount, they could approve the purpose, they could amend the dollar amount, amend the purpose, or they could disapprove it completely.
That'll be Tuesday.
Should occur at the conclusion of the public hearing. But I think to get to Mary Ann's point, there are technicalities, they could continue it, but then they would have to reopen the public hearing at a later date. So that typically isn't the way that they've done it, but I don't want to say that it couldn't happen.
So they scheduled their meeting for the 25th of August.
They're currently meeting right now is their regular meeting on the
Talking about
25th.
but this topic is on their agenda.
So
I want the public to
I'm
just,
going to confirm that with Heather Campbell, the chair of the committee, but that was her request last week. So confirm that, I'll see if I can get her tonight to make sure we're on this first thing tomorrow, but I'll confirm with her that that's her date.
so for the board scheduling, 1 or 2, September 1 or 2, so it's a Tuesday, Wednesday, those days work for anybody? I know you're on the big screen.
That'll be me.
Either first or second? Yeah, either is, well, maybe the
Either is
first would
fine.
be better.
Earlier time of day, or does that have to be after
It
7?
has to, I work, so
So it'll be after,
after, I can be here about 4, I can make
oh,
arrangements.
so 4,
or
oh, sorry, so
now.
4 or later. It's room availability is the other piece of it.
Well, that one's kind of important, so we'll have to,
Right.
yeah.
So 1 or 2, looks like everybody's good on that. Great.
Okay, so for the public, not necessarily guaranteed until we post that.
Correct,
'cause we
but
have to-
those board members are available. I'm checking in the room. Good.
Is that the Tuesday or the Wednesday, the first?
Either
was?
one, Tuesday
Okay,
or Wednesday.
Tuesday or Wednesday, okay.
Okay, so we're good with the conditions. So the new business, request for proposal for feasibility study and implementation plan for emergency medical services within our community. And Town manager and staff put together a draft of the RFP. We've all had a chance to look at it since last week. Any suggestions, thoughts, additions, deletions? Marla?
I'd just like to say this is the second draft, and the internal working group reviewed the first draft and provided feedback. And I really, really like this second draft and wanted to thank town manager and his staff who worked together on
And
this. I think
staff who did most
Nicole-
of the work, yep.
Nicole and Catherine helped you with this, based on the group's feedback. So it has already gone through one iteration, and I think it's great.
Lovely.
Robert?
Can I be the cynic?
Well, I might be too.
So the only thing I'd say is that what I'm looking forward to is looking forward and not necessarily looking back. So when I look at the scope of services, A is sort of evaluating where we are now, which I'm really less interested in then B, which is I hope we have someone who has knowledge about how ambulance service is provided in a demographic like ours, and come up and say, here are the pros and cons of doing it with a, outside vendor, you're doing it in-house, you're doing it as a region, and then we can, and the costs, and we can look at those. So I hope they don't spend a lot of time looking back. Because I hope they have expertise into how these systems work. We don't need to relive all the things we've talked about. The issues we have now, I don't think we need to regurgitate that. Let's just look at what we should be doing for the future. So for me, scope of services should start with B. But
Is the intent that the third party should have knowledge of our existing arrangements so that they can compare and make a recommendation? I think that was sort of where it was coming from, but maybe scaling down A.
I just wouldn't want to spend a
Or,
lot of time.
yeah, based on information currently available kind of thing.
Hopefully, they have lots of expertise and they see, this demographic, a regional thing works in this demographic. It doesn't work here because you don't have enough people. I don't know, whatever. You hope you have someone who has done this so often, they can look at who we are and easily do the pros and cons.
But with an existing provider, we do want them comparing to,
Yeah, I don't really.
no?
Well, I don't,
Shouldn't we limit it to like one or two comparison, a large size versus small size similar to ours, and just how much it costs? And we don't need them going out doing, all this multiple comparisons and stuff like that.
We'll find out.
Yeah?
We, the difference between the first draft and the second draft was changing a lot of comprehensive to concise. So there was a concerted effort.
Yeah, I was going to say,
In that-
thank goodness Robert didn't see the draft one. It was 3 pages longer. Wouldn't have liked that at all.
I agree. When I'm reading through I think this is a very good document. I was very impressed, so I also want to thank all the parties, and I know folks have been meeting after this issue first came up, and I appreciate all the work from elected officials and paid employees and such. A question about the tentative schedule. Can we get dates in there, or?
Yep.
It seems like time is of the essence, or is this something we're going to defer to the town manager for the tentative schedule?
Well, so, yeah, the final version we would issue, but I would say any feedback, any whatsoever, including what you just said, I think is what I want to hear. Let me see if I can pull it up. Sorry for everyone that I just hit the mic
I would
at
just
home.
say ASAP, fill in the dates that are realistic.
So
that are
RFP
also
issued
ASAP.
tomorrow, for example.
Yep.
If everyone's in agreement with this, and then build the dates from there. 2-3 weeks for, 2.5 weeks for proposal deadline and award, be your next regular meeting after that and off to the races.
Is there I apologize, I don't know, I did read through it. Do we have a deadline date in here when the report must be? Okay, we got it there?
Yeah.
Oh, target completion, got it. Okay, thank you.
But that's the range that I'm thinking, and we'd want this back in hand.
Well, I would think you would work
Beginning-
backward from our first meeting in September, which I think is the 14th. So issue tomorrow and award September 14, and then the other 2 dates kind of fall within that range?
Yep.
Is that,
That was my question about dates. Just putting hard dates in there.
We were TBD because we didn't know if this was coming in front of you. It's
No, I
as
like
late
that.
as Thursday of last
Yeah,
week.
I mean,
so-
we need to do it. I mean,
great.
It needs to happen, but I just want the end date, pick a date. Is it November 30 and back up from that? Is it November 20th? I don't know, just. You have the feedback you need from the board?
I do, thank you.
Any other questions about this? Motion to adjourn? Meeting is adjourned at 5:24 PM.